No, 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 no. No, no. We don't need. I have coffee now.
You
need
want some more
something.
coffee?
Nope.
Spreadsheets. Tell me about spreadsheets.
So I do not like spreadsheets.
Okay.
I do not like Excel.
Do you like MMOs?
I'm actually not that into MMOs
Do you like
anymore either.
finances?
Not really.
So what the hell are you doing playing EVE Online?
It's a really good game.
Yeah, that's
It's
okay.
So it's all right. Let me start by saying I love Eve
All right.
like a lot.
I know, and I remember the day I found out that you played Eve. You were like actually the last person in this office who I would peg to like something so, let's call it dry, to be diplomatic. It
Okay,
seems like
I
that.
agree.
Okay, so here's my perception as a non-Eve player. I'm being totally judgmental, so whatever. Tell me I'm wrong. Eve seems like a fascinating, weird, super unique thing that there was nothing else like in the world. But it seems like maybe the moment-to-moment gameplay of Eve isn't what draws people to it, or isn't necessarily fun
Yeah.
in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
So what's the draw to you as an Eve player?
So first, let me just say, it's not a game.
Okay.
I would
Sold.
I would call it a sim.
All right.
I think it's more of a sim than it is a game. So I started playing on a trial account a few years ago, and it was so much of it was just like over my head
Yeah.
that I stopped after my 2-week trial ran out. But then I came back to it a few months later, after like some huge battle happened, whatever, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna learn how to play this game.
Okay.
And I committed myself to learning the game. I like literally for about a month, I felt like I was in college again, where I was like studying and like reading
Oh
and
my God.
like I felt like I was doing a research
Oh,
paper.
that sounds like the opposite of fun.
And it ended up being really hard and pretty terrible. And to this day, I think Eve has the steepest learning curve of any game I've ever
Jeez.
gone near.
But you wound up being into it.
But I ended up getting into it.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I did, and this is the most important part to anyone who wants to try to like get into Eve, you have to join a corp, and that corp maybe should be in an alliance, because then it opens all the doors to all the elements of like whenever people talk about Eve, like big wars and big battles, you start to get access to that. Maybe you're not participating, but at least you're hearing about it and you're starting to see it a little bit.
So-
and that is like the core of what's special about Eve is it's like legitimately a social game.
Yeah.
It's like a buzzword back in the day of Farmville.
Right. But this is truly
But
social.
truly,
Like,
because it is a sandbox where literally the players are the ones making the game.
yeah. That's
and-
what's interesting about it to me, is that it's so hands off. It's so like it
Yeah.
almost feels like at times they built it, but they want to interfere as little as possible
Yeah.
with the world they've created and let the players sort of dictate
Yeah.
what goes on and like
So
the
much so that
economy
they,
even.
so much so that they like early back in the day they didn't think to make the high sec NPC like structures and space invulnerable.
Yeah.
They're humongous, and they gave them like I guess like armor and like or health like equivalent to their size, which is insane and should never, you know, like they're like no one's ever gonna destroy this. But then one day, like all the players in Eve, like in a protest, started attacking all the stations and destroyed them.
Jeez.
And then like they're like, okay, so no, we can't do that anymore. They're gonna be invulnerable now because these players are actually we can't control them, and they don't want to control anyone.
Yeah.
But they have to like. It would be a broken game if they didn't have some rules.
Yeah, I think though that their willingness to step back is what's cool. Like I had a friend in high school. I guess that means Eve's pretty old now. I had a friend in high school though who played a ton of Eve, and at one point he was telling me a story of how he had like collected a bunch of blueprints for a specific type of ship and then just destroyed them for the hell of it, and then watched the price of those blueprints and that ship just skyrocket in the economy as a direct result of his actions, or him and his corpse actions or something like that. And like that to me is what's dope about Eve.
Yeah.
So what do
like-
you? Okay, so what I still don't totally understand though is what you spend most of your time doing. Are you shooting ever? Are you battling? Are you like mining rocks? a lot of mining, right?
The majority of what you do, like the grinding in the game, is to make money. You can do that by mining. You can do it by ratting, which is like you fly to some asteroid belt, or you scan down an anomaly and you fly to it.
Cool.
And then there's like NPC bad guy ships, and every time you kill them, you get money.
All right. So it's like the worst part of Mass Effect 2, but that's the whole game.
Yeah. It's so a lot of what I'm doing isn't super fun, but there's something. Again, like it's about being in a corp. Like when I am in space and I'm just making some money, it's not particularly fun. I have to be paying attention and engaged, or else I could get killed by the rats. But it's not the most exciting game. But when it really does get exciting and amazing is when these crazy things happen, like newts are called neutrals, meaning like they're not a good guy. They could be bad, and they probably are. Jump into our system, and everyone's like, "Whoa, neutrals in system!" And I immediately like call in all my drones, and I have to like warp back to the station to get to safety because my ship is not meant for like PvP. And then everyone like sits in the station and like talks about what they should do. Then we're like, okay, everyone gets like a PvP fitted ship, and then we go out and try to like scan them down if we can, and find them and then kill them.
Well, I think another thing that's cool is that so many games position you as being the hero and the chosen one and the super powerful guy who can take on a million other. Like, there's something to be said for, I think, games having you experience other positions of power. Like you in EVE, it sounds like, are just like a very small cog in this much larger machine. Very few games enable you to feel a little expendable. Like that's games never make me feel expendable.
Yeah, but in EVE I'm like a little shit. I am
you
without
don't
a
matter.
doubt. I do not matter at all. Yeah, but I have to say I think the most like where EVE I think captures people is how the stakes feel so high. EVE has the highest stakes of any game I've ever played. The consequences are the highest, and that comes from like time spent to like get money and then get a ship that's then worth something. So there's a real sense of value when you lose it. But then also from a social perspective, if I get blown up, I'm afraid of what other people will think of that. Like, is that embarrassing that I die for a good cause, like if it was for like the fleet, or maybe or I got this kill and then people are gonna be really impressed by me and whatever, I can brag about it, whatever. Like it's really all these social dynamics that like motivate a lot of the feelings players have around the game. Like I get a greater adrenaline rush in a small fleet trying to like go into a fight than I do any other game I've ever played in my life. Like my palms are sweating. Like I'm really freaked out. I'm like, if I fuck up, if I warp to the wrong place or I jump through the gate when I'm not supposed to, I could screw everything up and I'm gonna die and I'm gonna look like a total idiot. Like I'm gonna Leroy Jenkins. That's what I'm afraid of. My biggest fear is gonna Leroy Jenkins everything.
Don't LJ it. Don't LJ your corp.
But that's where I think I really, like, I fall in love with the game because I am feeling something I don't feel in any other game or even real life.
Yeah.
Like, I am a part of a group and I feel like I am responsible to like do a good job.
Yes, yeah. It's kind of like what we were saying about Dark Souls, where consequence is really rare in games. What's even rarer, I think, is this responsibility you're talking about to your group. It is fascinating, and I will never play it, but I will. I feel like someday there's going to be an amazing documentary where they go over all the different corps and the spies that have happened and the infiltration and the real world stuff. Like, there's an amazing movie to be made about EVE Online that it makes it maybe more penetrable for someone whose patience is as
I hope
weak-willed
so.
as mine.
I'm not sure if it's even possible because literally I think EVE is almost a genuine alternate reality, and because it's like an entire world, it's like, how do you make a documentary about something so big? I can't even,
Just think
I don't
that
even know how you structure a movie like that.
You put Ken Burns on it and you make it like, treat it like reality. That's the trick, right? Is you don't say, these guys are playing this game. You interview the pilots involved and the heads of the corps.
But I don't know if anyone cares.
I don't know, man. There's that Kickstarter right now. I don't remember who's running it, for a guy who's writing a book series about EVE Online, just recapping the history, and it seems like it's doing okay, so.
But I feel like to understand, for it to have any meaning to anyone, you need to like understand the significance in like the scale of stuff in the game and what's in the game. Like when you see like, I don't know, 50 bombers decloak and then they bomb a whole fleet of 100 people and they all get destroyed. I look at that and I'm like flipping out, my mind's blown. I'm like,
Yeah.
I cannot believe how many ships were just lost. That's insane. Like that's the coolest thing in the world. But to someone else, it's just like colored dots.
It's a good
and
question. I
weird
think,
explosions.
I think a skilled filmmaker can do it. I think like the way that all the articles I've seen about Eve that have been compelling have done it is they express it in terms of real world dollars lost, like $35,000 worth of ships and like 11,000 man hours worth of grinding to get these ships. That to me is how you communicate the significance of the scale of the losses that people suffer in Eve.
But that's why it shows up in news. I mean, like that huge fight that went down recently where it was
Yeah.
like $200,000 worth of ships lost or something. But that's just a headline. I mean, people like the headlines from Eve. I don't know, it's a tough thing.
I don't know. I know that I would be interested. I can only speak for myself, but whatever. Let's just, next year we'll go to Eve Fan Fest ourselves.
Oh, I can't wait.
And
Get free beer.
is that how that country works?
Yeah, that's
free
how
beer
it works.
everywhere?
A corp bought
God.
everyone free beer.
Oh, I was hoping it was like maybe like socialized medicine thing. You get free beer as part of that.
I don't know, maybe.
Maybe.
We'll have to go and find
Go
out.
find out for ourselves.
We'll sit in the Blue Lagoon.
I don't. Is that an Eve thing?
No, it's just in Iceland.
It's a part of the galaxy.
Part of Iceland, actually.
Oh.
Pretty nice. Hot spring.
All right, sounds like a plan.
It's like a hot tub.
Like a hot tub.
Yeah.